Right. Just I'll give a little review. Just watched it. Um, Jaws: The Revenge. Why do I do it to myself? Why do I do it to myself? Here we go. Jaws. This is actually Jaws 2, 3, and 4. I'm glad they actually sold it like Jaws 2, 3, and 4 because if the original Jaws was included in this box set, all of the other films would have just insulted the original Jaws. Anyway, so this is Jaws 2, 3, and The Revenge, but we'll concentrate on Jaws: The Revenge. Um, well, basically, storyline is Roy Schneider's character from the first Jaws. He's apparently died of a heart attack because of nightmares and the stress and the memories of the original Jaws and Jaws 2, what he went through having to kill the shark and all that malarkey. So his widow is left now with her two sons, Michael and Sean Brody. The film starts off in Amity. Um, Sean, the youngest son, he's a policeman. He goes out into the water to there's something stuck on a buoy, and he tries to move it, and lo and behold, old Snappy Chops turns up, and he gets killed in a rather unconvincing and not remotely suspenseful death scene. Um, and that's the highlight. Well, that's one of the highlights of the film actually, and it's downhill from there on. Anyway, the mother, played by Lorraine Gary, who was in the original Jaws and Jaws 2, she was absent from Jaws 3, and this film completely disregarded as if Jaws 3 never happened. So it's like a continuation from Jaws 2. Anyway, um, she decides to go over to the Bahamas to spend some time with her other son, Michael, who you think basically after what he went through in the first two Jaws films, the last job you would find him doing would be in the water. But lo and behold, that is his job, swimming around in the ocean, monitoring sea snails of some description. Anyway, so she goes over there, and this is the best bit that I like. The shark actually follows her to the Caribbean, gets there in the matter of a couple of days, which is just impossible. Um, where she meets this pilot played by Michael Caine, probably one of the worst performances he's ever done in his life. Funnily enough, he won an Oscar. He did a film in 1987 called Hannah and Her Sisters, which he got Best Actor Oscar for, but he couldn't actually be at the Oscar ceremony to pick it up because he was filming this load of crap. And anyway, so she meets him, and that son Michael, he gets terrorized by the shark a few times in a rather unconvincing way. The shark looks terrible. I mean, the special effects are just beyond belief. I mean, with the shark, I mean, this was filmed 10 years, no, 12 years after the original Jaws, and the shark in this looks worse than the shark in the first film. It looks even more fake. It actually won a Razzie Award. One of the Razzie Awards it won. It was inundated with Razzie Awards. One of the Razzie Awards it won was for worst special effects. And when you see the film, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not surprised. Anyway, um, I mean, I don't even know what else to say about the film really, apart from it's got one of the worst endings ever. I mean, when you consider this film's called Jaws: The Revenge, I remember as a kid I was so looking forward to watching it, and I watched it, and I was trying to convince myself that I enjoyed it, so I watched it quite a few times. And the version I watched on the television is actually different to the one that was released at the cinema. And the one that was released at the cinema is even worse than the television version. At the end of this one, the cinema version, what happens is the shark gets impaled by the front of a boat that they're on in the middle of the ocean, and it explodes for no apparent reason. It just explodes, as sharks do when they get hit with a piece of sharp wood. Yeah, and um, and that's it. And only about 2 people get killed in the film. Like I say, the acting by Michael Caine is deplorable. The acting by the hero Michael, played by Michael Brody, played by Lance Guest. The only other film I've seen him in was another 80s film, science fiction film called The Last Starfighter, or something like that, I think it was called. He's terrible. And I mean, it makes absolutely no sense because he has a daughter in the film. Now, he encounters the shark halfway through the film and decides to monitor the shark and lets his daughter go out into the ocean. Doesn't want to say anything in case it upsets anybody. And has a feeling that the shark's coming after them, but then he still won't mention anything about his daughter. He's perfectly alright with his daughter going into the sea, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the shark does try to attack her. Doesn't kill her actually, but he kills another girl. And that's the thing. I mean, only about what 2 or 3 people. I think it's how many people? Yeah, 2 people. Only 2 people are actually killed by the shark in this film. The first one within the first couple of minutes, like I said, is Sean Brody, and the second one is this woman on a banana boat. Now that attack scene is rather quite good. It's not bad. I'll give it that. That's the only remotely redeeming scene in the film. Now, a lot of debate. Is this worse than Jaws 3? That's a tough one. They're both pretty bad. But for some reason, there's something I find about Jaws 3 and Jaws the Revenge. There's something quite endearing about them for some reason. I mean, they're really bad. The dialogue's bad. The direction's bad. The effects are terrible. I mean, the Jaws 3 was done in 3D, so transfer, and that was what 1983, I think. So when that's um, shown on a television screen, obviously they can't do it in 3D, so the effects just look ridiculous. I mean, it's laughable, really. But I would say just give it a shot, really. I mean, I must have seen it about, my God, in excess of about 20 times. I don't know why. I just pray that it keeps on, that it would get better, because I mean, Jaws is probably one of my favorite films of all time, and it's just amazing. I mean, the writers actually of Jaws, of the original Jaws, one of them, Carl Gottlieb, he he was one of the writers on Jaws 3, and they completely screwed that up. I mean, it's just terrible. And Jaws the Revenge. Well, the writer for this, what Michael de Guzman, I think his name. Well, he's never written anything since. Yeah, Michael de Guzman. He's never done anything. I think that was the only film he ever wrote, and and I'm not surprised why. And Lorraine Gary, who plays Chief Brody's widow, Roy Scheider's character's widow, she was actually married to, or I'm not sure if she still is, the executive of Universal at the time, chief executive of Universal. So I wonder if that had anything to do with her being cast once again. Anyway, she got panned for her performance. I thought her performance wasn't bad considering the script she had to deal with, but she hasn't worked since. And oh yeah, that's it. Mario Van Peebles is in it, and he's probably got one of the worst Jamaican accents I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it's just laughable, really. The whole film's just laughable. But that's the thing. It's one of those films. It's just so bad it's good. I mean, it's a cliche to say that, but it really deserves that title. Um, yeah. So yeah. I mean, which is worse, this or Battlefield Earth? Both of them are terrible, but they've both got something quite endearing about them to watch. So I would recommend Jaws: The Revenge. I would recommend it. I mean, I'd recommend all the Jaws films. I'm a bit biased because I like the first one so much and I've got an interest in sharks. But definitely a guilty pleasure. Definitely one, again a cliche, but to sit down with a few beers with some mates after you've been at the pub, you'd have to be pretty lagered up really. And yeah, have a good laugh, get the chip pan on, and yeah, get the munchies, have a few beers, watch it. Hopefully you pass out before the end and it won't seem so bad. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about that one. So yeah, give it a shot. and you'll either find it funny or you'll get hugely depressed for just wasting an hour and a half of your life. But anyway, those are my thoughts on it. So yeah, give it a try. Hopefully you'll enjoy it for what it is.